Just go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the pouch. Screw green bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and family.
Hit those milk thumbs, boys and girls.
Freeze frame.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.
Welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my lovely co-pilot. I got Mr. Matt O'Leary. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. It was a fun weekend for the wild card round. I thought we had a bunch of really good games, and I'm excited. The divisional round's my favorite weekend of football. You got multiple games on Saturday and Sunday, and it feels like those are always the best ones of the playoffs. So looking forward to some more playoff football over the weekend.
Man, my wife was so mad at me because my ass watched football from Thursday and Friday for the two college football games between, Ole Miss and Miami, and then Indiana and Oregon. Then we roll right into wild card weekend, 2 games, 3 games, and then 1 game last night. And my wife was like, how much longer do we have of this? I was like, well, it's a little bit less the next next few weeks here, so it's not too bad. Let me relish in it and whatnot. But lots of news to go over, lots of coaching stuff that happened across the league, some Indiana, Oregon kind of drama as far as what the Jets could do at the number 2 pick. There's a poll question in the chat. If you guys are just popping in, you want to answer that question. If Dante Moore declares, do you want to draft Dante Moore at 2, trade out of number 2, or go best player available or another quarterback at number 2? You guys can vote on that in the live chat. We'll be getting all your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, all that good stuff. Before we get too far into this, I'm just going to acknowledge sponsor of the channel, Polymarket.
I need to put you guys onto something that's really changing the way that I'm watching sports right now, and it's called Polymarket. If you've been watching the show, you know we look at odds. That's what we do. But Polymarket is a little bit different. It isn't a traditional sports book. It's a prediction market. That means instead of betting against a house that sets the lines to beat you, you're trading directly against other sports fans. Why does that matter? Well, control value. Right? Because you're trading peer-to-peer, you aren't paying the heavy vig or fee that traditional platforms charge just to place a trade. The payouts are often better because no middleman is taking a massive cut. Plus, it is fully live. If you see momentum swinging, you can buy in or sell out instantly. You aren't locked in until the clock hits 0. Polymarket is fully U.S. compliant and available in all 50 states. They are very confident that once you try trading instead of just betting, that you won't go back. I've gotten in the mix, and I think it's pretty fun so far. They're giving my viewers $10 free to try it out. No deposit required, no credit card info needed. Just download the app via the link in the description and use our code TalkinJets. Claim the $10, make a few predictions, and see the difference for yourself.
Polymarket's been a lot of fun to play with and use. So if you guys want to help support the channel, click the link in the description, use our code, and help support the channel. It goes a long way. Boys, we got a lot to get into tonight. A lot to get into, and I see the chat getting all fired up. People talking about the different quarterbacks. Got Blitz crew coming in. Yeah. Blitz saying, get to Tomlin already. So for those of you living under a rock, Mike Tomlin is taking a year off from football. He's stepping down as the Steelers head coach, which means the Steelers are going to retain his rights. So if you're going to want him as a coach, it's not going to happen this year. Might happen in 2027, but you're going to have to trade for him. So I guess we could kind of jump off, springboard with that question here, Matt. We've seen a bunch of names shake free. Obviously, John Harbaugh we saw last week. Tomlin now this week. What are your thoughts on all the coaching candidates? Maybe are there certain teams that you sort of have penciled in for certain coaches? And then what do you make of like the Jets situation? A lot of Jet fans still want to move on from Glenn. We've seen teams kind of drag their search out a little bit, and like, you know, Harbaugh was fired obviously after their playoff game. Tomlin comes out. This is what, Tuesday now, so it's a few days. Actually, it's only one day after theirs. So, you think Glenn is still safe? And I guess thoughts on the coaching stuff in general.
Yeah, I think Glenn is still going to be safe. They're going to stick to their plan. And it's crazy. There's 9 openings now. There's a ton, right? That's nearly a third of the league, right? That is going to be looking for a new head coach. So excited to see all the movement in the offseason. I did find it interesting with Mike Tomlin, and you know, it was something that you said where he is still under the Steelers' control, but he also has a no trade clause in his contract. So I wonder if that would come into play theoretically in 2027, right? Like he's going to go do TV. That's kind of the assumption, and then maybe look to get back into it the following year. With that no trade clause, maybe he'll play stubborn with it and be like, listen, I don't want to hamstring my my team that I'm going to and give up a draft asset for me. So we'll see when it comes to that point, but I would be surprised if he never coaches again. I think he's still young enough where he's going to take another coaching gig, and he'll probably have plenty of options available to him in 2027, just like how John Harbaugh was heavily, you know, courted, if you will, on the head coaching search. I don't know about you, Ryan, and maybe this is a good place to start, but I don't want to sound like a boomer, but I don't get the John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin can't coach in 2026 narratives that have been tossed around there. Like, I get it. They weren't able to get over the hump with Lamar for John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin with the 7 straight losses in the playoffs. All that said, it's a scary world out there. You don't know, like they haven't seen 5-12. They haven't seen 3-14. These fans don't know what it's like out there in the streets. So it's nice and cushy, and there's been a lot of celebrating, and who knows, maybe it works. Maybe they hire someone and they just keep continuing to be awesome every single year. But I don't know. The luck's going to have to run out eventually there, I would think.
Look, I'll be honest. I kind of hope their luck does run out a little bit and they get a little bit of the Jets medicine that we've had to swallow the last bunch of years, rotating in and out coaches, miserable playoff stretches of no playoffs. As far as like, can these guys coach in this era? I think they definitely can. I think I look at both situations similarly to Andy Reid in Philadelphia, and it's not that Andy Reid can't coach. It's that, you know, you've kind of hit not your ceiling, but the message starts to get a little bit old after so long. Even if it's a good coach, if the results aren't really coming to fruition, it's going to take, you know, its toll on the locker room. It's going to take its toll on ownership. How Harbaugh and the owner kind of went back and forth between like, oh, I fired him via text message, and then he was talking, I think it was today, and he said something along the lines of like, oh, if Tucker had been here and made that kick, how like would Harbaugh still be here? And he said, for another week. So it's like, all right, so his ass was out no matter what. Like, it didn't matter how far. Maybe they could have won a Super Bowl, and maybe, I don't know, that probably would have saved him. But, you know, either way, it felt like their coaching has kind of hit its limits. With Tomlin, I feel like it's kind of been there for a little bit. Fans have kind of been a little agitated because they tend to make the playoffs, but then just sort of coast and not do anything. And I don't know if that's so much Mike Tomlin as much as it is just sort of having middling quarterback play in general. They really haven't done much since Big Ben retired. And, you know, maybe there's a situation where Tomlin finds himself with a team that has 3 first-round picks next year, and maybe he wants to build the team in his image or do something along those lines. Or he could just choose whatever team has the first overall pick, and he takes Arch Manning, and the rest is history. I think both coaches are in really advantageous situations. I mean, obviously, they're highly sought after, whether it's the Giants job for Harbaugh or maybe he goes to the Raiders, or, you know, there's just a lot of potential opportunities. We're probably fairly lucky that the Bills won, because I think there was a shot that Harbaugh would have wound up in Buffalo, and I don't want to deal with that for the next 10 to 18 years. That could potentially be. But yeah, I think they could definitely still coach. I think they're going to wind up in good spots. I don't think they're going to go to a team that's struggling like the Jets. Like, not that our coaching position is open currently, but I think the best chance the Jets have at getting one of these coaches would be to wait out a year, hopefully build the roster up enough, make it look more appealing for a new head coach. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts. I'll be honest, I didn't realize Mike Tomlin had a no trade clause. It's just one of those things that doesn't necessarily click with the coaching search. I had to do a quick Google. Sean Payton did not have a no trade clause, and he wound up going for the number 29th pick and a future second round pick. And then let's see, with the Saints also sending the Broncos a 2024 third round pick. So it was basically a first and a second, and they got a third rounder back. So you would have to think if there is a no trade clause in place, that would have to reduce the value of a coach from like a trade perspective, just like it would for a player, because it limits your options. So in your mind, let's scope this out 1 year into the future. Mike Tomlin's looking to get back into coaching. The Jets have 3 first-round picks. Are you looking to move one of these first-round picks for Mike Tomlin?
I wouldn't want to trade a pick just because I don't think the roster is going to be in a good enough spot yet. Like, I think they're going to need those picks to either, who knows, maybe they're moving up for a quarterback next year. I don't know what their plan is at quarterback this year. And if not, there's probably still holes on the team. A first rounder feels kind of rich. I don't know. What's the line? Is it a second? Is it a third? What is it?
I mean, I would have to think they'd be asking for a first round draft pick. I mean, he's got what, 1 Super Bowl to his name, right? Is that what it was, or did he get a second one? He's got the 1.
He went to a second, but they lost in 2010.
Okay, so he's got the 1 Super Bowl ring. In my mind, I don't really view Tomlin in the same light that I do Sean Payton, and it's for different reasons. Like, for me, Sean Payton very much kind of amplified some of the chaos that happened in the locker room with Bountygate and all that, where Tomlin really put a lid on a lot of his players. Like, he took care of Pickens and A.J. Brown and Santonio Holmes and Plaxico Burress and Le'Veon Bell and like all these personalities that kind of like were sort of explosive, and he was able to contain it. And then he got rid of them in a timely fashion to not have to deal with too big of a headache before they kind of exploded. But I don't see the offensive production coming from a Tomlin-led team the way I did with Sean Payton. And with the NFL being as offense-heavy as possible, I look at Payton's compensation being the first and the third, getting back the third, and saying that's probably the high end of where a potential trade could be. Obviously, there's no trade clause. There wasn't a no trade clause in place, so that compensation could be higher. With the Steelers and Tomlin, he's going to be able to restrict it, and you got to think it's probably not going to be a team that's going to be very good that's going to be getting him. I mean, what's the highest? I guess Harbaugh and the Steelers, right? Like, the Ravens and Steelers are the 2 highest winning total teams that can their coaches. Everyone else is a lot worse than that, right? Like Atlanta, Titans, Dolphins, Cardinals, Raiders, Giants, Titans. I feel like I'm missing one in there somewhere. But yeah, they're all like, bottom feeder type teams. So are one of those teams going to want to give up a first? Or are you going to be able to have, a situation like, I don't know, you have multiple firsts. Obviously, I think the Jets are going to be talked about quite a bit because of our trade assets and everything. But I'm with you. I don't want to give up a first-round pick for a coach. I think I'd steer – it sucks. As much as either a proven offensive coach, like if Mike McCarthy's hanging around, I would honestly probably err on the side of Mike McCarthy with no draft pick given up, as opposed to giving up one of our 3 draft picks in the first round to get Mike Tomlin. And maybe that's a hot take that some people won't like, but that's kind of I'm with you on the asset being given up. I don't love that.
I get that. And they're kind of similar coaches, right? Like one won a Super Bowl in 2008, the other in 2010. McCarthy is an offensive coach, and he has that going for him. I don't know if this is just personal bias, but I've always kind of liked Tomlin more than I like Mike McCarthy. I agree. Towards the end in Green Bay, it felt like he was kind of holding the Packers back a little bit, and his offense seemed to get stale. But I mean, he had some really good years with Dak offensively, but again, they didn't really do all too much come playoff time. He definitely raises the floor, so I wouldn't be like absolutely crying about it, but I'm not going to be out there like strongly campaigning for Mike McCarthy. If they want to go with the offensive mind, I think I would go on the younger side, up and coming side.
I guess my thought was like, if you had to give up, let's say our third first round pick was like pick 25, and you said, okay, you could get, it's just the 25th pick. It's not a first and a second like the Broncos had to give up. It's the first round pick, number 25 for Tomlin, or you could go McCarthy, or you could go the hot young offensive coordinator of the cycle. I don't know who that's going to be next year, but we'll call it whoever that person is. Doesn't have head coaching experience, rookie, coordinator, whatnot. What would be your thought process?
Oh God,
It's tough, right?
It is tough. I hate when you put me on the spot like that, Ryan, with these tough questions.
Well, I want me to give you my thoughts before you.
Go for it.
So I think it depends on what we're doing with the quarterback. If Dante Moore's already here in-house, or maybe it's like, we're not, if the plan is to not draft a quarterback next year and we have our guy on the roster that we like, I think I do like McCarthy just because there's so much history on the offensive side and he's like been around the league. I think he could put together a better quarterback room to help get the quarterback that's in-house right, as opposed to a young offensive mind that might struggle putting together a staff. Now, I'm not against going to young offensive mind. I'd steer probably either one of those two before I go towards Tomlin and give away the first round pick for a coach. I think my concern is, are we attracting the right head coach? Like, are we going to be attractive enough in the offseason to get the hot young coordinator? If we get the first overall pick, I would imagine we're going to be the apple of everyone's eye. That would be the magic number. But I think it's almost dependent on how we plan to address the quarterback situation.
That's totally fair. I think I lean towards the young offensive mind just because I don't know. I look around like what Ben Johnson did with Chicago and 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐿 did with Jacksonville, and kind of want that for me. Selfishly, it doesn't always work out. You got to hire the right guy, obviously, but I don't think McCarthy would be a long-term answer, and neither probably Tomlin wouldn't be either. They're both older, although I think Tomlin is younger, right? 62 for McCarthy. Tomlin is,
I feel like Tomlin's
he
older.
became a head coach at like 34, so he can't be that old. He's 53. He's like 10 years younger. So I think Tomlin would hang around for a little bit longer. Like I said, I like Tomlin a lot. If I could get him without giving up a draft pick, I think he would be, ranked pretty high on my list. But I guess we'll see when we get there, right? Like, the Jets still have a head coach that you're hoping figures it out in 2026, but uphill battle.
Dude, the amount of like fans that are just all fired up with the awesome coaches that are out here on the market, like Stefanski and Harbaugh. Like, it's gonna really suck if John Harbaugh ends up in with the Giants, and we're sitting here just twiddling our thumbs with Aaron Glenn, and we're like, man, look at all those guys having fun across the way. League neighbors, Jackson Dart, Scattaboo, all that, and we're just picking up the pieces. That's gonna kind of suck. I'd like to see him go anywhere else. Like, just go. I don't know. We've heard some rumors that I think both Harbaugh and Tomlin would prefer warm weather. I think or at least Tomlin would prefer warm weather. I think Harbaugh, I think they mentioned specifically Miami, or maybe Miami wanted both of them, like one or the other. Do you see a situation where that comes to fruition in Miami? I feel like they're in a weird spot, like from a team building perspective. Like, if Tua is not your guy, you're either fixing Tua or you're, ripping the Band-Aid and having massive dead cap hits.
Yeah, that's I initially thought that Harbaugh would be a good opportunity for Miami. And I think he has a connection there too, but the not having the quarterback thing is, I think, a big deal. Maybe something that I initially undersold on why, the Giants might be more appealing if he has strong feelings about Jackson Dart being the guy. But you're right. I think that does play a factor. Now I get it. The end of your career, it's like half a retirement, right? In Miami, you go, the warm weather, not crazy high expectations. Like obviously going to New York and trying to fix the Giants is a really huge deal. So I feel like there would be less pressure on him if he took the Miami situation, but quarterback's so important. So I guess it's really dependent on how he views Jackson Dart versus, hey, what am I going to do with my quarterback here in Miami?
Any thought of Harbaugh just like flipping the bird to Baltimore and saying, I'm going to Pittsburgh? And just like going against Baltimore the next 20 years because the Steelers never fire a coach.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious if he did that, and I would be rooting for Mike Tomlin then to go to Baltimore because that would just be for just all the vibes. It would be so good, but yeah, it's that'd be something epic. Supposedly it's either Atlanta or the Giants for Harbaugh. That's the latest.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, like those would be the two in the running. I guess you'd probably feel best about the Giants because they have the quarterback in place, the wide receiver. They have a really high draft pick this year. The Falcons don't have a first-round pick this year. You don't really know if you have the quarterback in Penix. He's got a lot of season-ending injuries. He's a little bit older. I don't know. If you had to pick one, obviously Atlanta is in an easier division, but Bryce Young is on the up and up. Baker Mayfield's not really leaving the Bucs anytime soon, I don't think. The Saints, are trying to figure it out. I feel like the Saints and the Falcons are in a comparable kind of limbo almost. Maybe you have a little bit more faith in Shuck because he's less proven or less on tape than Penix. If you had to pick one, would you choose the Giants or would you choose the Falcons?
I would choose the Giants because I'm more confident in Jackson Dart than I am Michael Penix. Unless it's like, hey, you have a full go to move on and draft your own guy and be like, I'll ride with Kirk Cousins for this year on the cheaper deal that, he restructured to, and then try to find my own guy in 2027. If they give him the okay on that, you could sell me on the Falcons because I think they have more pieces and are further along, but they don't have the biggest piece, which is the quarterback. So I'm repeating myself, but I think his feelings on Dart is going to be the biggest deciding factor.
Yeah, it's almost like you kind of want to go belly up in Atlanta and just get the top pick next year. Unless you can convince a team that Penix is the guy and you trade Penix and you'd move a bunch of pieces to try and get your quarterback. But I would agree with you. I think the Giants is the more advantageous spot. I'm surprised the Raiders haven't really popped up. I feel like John versus Jim Harbaugh in the AFC West would be an intriguing story. I really like Mendoza. Or whatever quarterback you like at the top of this draft. Maybe he doesn't like either one, and that's part of the whole problem. You also don't have to deal with developing a quarterback if you go with Jackson Dart necessarily. I mean, like you already have seen him in the NFL. There's a proven commodity aspect to that. The Maras are a good family to work for, so I think
they're loyal.
Yeah, they are. For nothing else, at least you'd be the big brother in one of the biggest cities in the league. So I think that's where I would go as well. Marvin, what's good, dude, says, if you had to choose Mendoza or Simpson, Mendoza all day. If Mendoza somehow falls to 2, I'm running that up to the podium. If the Jets had the opportunity to trade to 1 because the Raiders were like, we don't really know if we want Mendoza, I would do that. I don't know what my trade offer would be. It'd probably include 16 to do that flip because I think Mendoza is about as safe of a prospect, or I feel as confident watching him throw the ball as I have felt about any quarterback coming out. And he doesn't have like the scrambling ability that Jaden Daniels had, or the legs that May has, or the flashiness of Caleb Williams or anything along those lines. But I feel like the floor is just so high with Mendoza that you can have success with that on a steady, consistent basis. He doesn't really put his body in harm's way either, so I feel confident that he's going to stay healthy. I would choose Mendoza, and I would go so far as to say I would trade up for Mendoza, where Simpson, I'd probably wait till pick 33 to make that selection.
Oh, we've done so much Mendoza more. That's where my brain went immediately. We're choosing between Mendoza or Simpson. I would take Mendoza every time over Tai Simpson. I'm sorry, Tai Simpson fan. Tank for Ty, that's the name in the chat. He's here every week. He loves Tai Simpson. Listen, if the Jets decide, they're picking at 2, Mendoza goes 1, they don't like Dante Moore, they either stick and pick or trade down or whatever, and they take Tai Simpson at 33 or 44, okay. Or if they trade up, and it's not crazy, to 27 and get a 3rd first-round pick and Tai Simpson's their pick, okay, I can live with that. But head-to-head, I think Mendoza's the better quarterback. He has more touchdown passes than incompletions in the college football playoff, which is just insane. And you don't obviously just scout a guy off of the one game, but it feels like watching him all year, he rises to the occasion in the big moments, right? Like think about the final drive against, was it Penn State, where he went down the field and scored late. And he just has a bit of a clutch factor to him, even against Oregon, where I don't think he played an amazing game. Got it done when it mattered most. And I think he is the most NFL ready quarterback in this class. And I'm kind of tired of taking the swings on the guys with the athletic traits and the high variance. They could be awesome if everything hits. They'd be, the Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and Tony Romo, Matthew Stafford comparisons that we got with Sam Darnold and obviously Zach Wilson. And they haven't hit those marks, although obviously now Sam has been significantly better. But I don't know, just give me a good player, man. Even if the guy's the 12th best quarterback, that's a major win to me.
Yeah, I'll take average. At this point, we're low-hanging fruit. NY Coder Bear says, we need to put together a media blitz to pump up Moore to the Raiders, convince Brady also. I mean, if they're going for Moore, it's because they fell in love with him in the draft process, through the combine, through the pro day, and they're looking at the overall traits and think maybe his ceiling is higher than Mendoza's. But I would be very, very surprised if Brady and that Raiders organization does not select Mendoza number 1 overall. He just has all the traits that I think Brady and any other person would really want in a quarterback. I mean, before he transferred from Cal, he learned every single player's face and name, so he knew them going into the locker room. He's just got like all these weird intangible stories. His LinkedIn profile, he's got no social media footprint, which coming from the Jets is something like, I want that quarterback. I would give up a 1st-round pick to have a quarterback that's off social media. His only social media presence is LinkedIn, and he updated it to say his Heisman Trophy winning thing, and that's like it. The dude's football and Jesus. That's like his entire life. And I am incredibly jealous of the Raiders for being able to have the ability to take him. But yeah, I will pump up more to the Raiders 110% if there's any chance that he could go there. You think there's any shot that Raiders don't go with Mendoza?
I'm less confident after how that game went against Indiana on Friday. Like you, I watched football all Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and it was the best 5-day stretch in a long time. But it clearly didn't go well for Moore. And like I said, with Mendoza, you don't just scout the one game. However, I think there would have been a better case for Dante Moore going number 1 overall if he wins a national championship, if he takes down Indiana, and then obviously would have had to take down, the winner of Miami and Ole Miss, and Miami wins. I think that would have been an impressive thing on his resume. Who knows? Maybe, the pro day and the meetings, they fall in love with the kid, right? It happens all the time. But if I was betting on it, I think Mendoza's going number 1.
Sam comes in. Sam says, there is always a top player that falls late in the draft. See Jihad Campbell, Brian Thomas Jr. Why trade a first when we can get a young offensive coordinator? Yeah, I agree with this take. I don't want to trade a first for a coach. In general, it would have to be like the right coach. Like if you told me Andy Reid, who has a track record with 2 organizations, multiple quarterbacks, I would trade a first for that. Sean Payton, similar thought process. John Harbaugh, obviously, is a free agent now. Jim Harbaugh, maybe. I don't know. I find it hard to want to give up a 1st-round pick for a head coach when we have so much talent we need on our roster. I think Brian Thomas Jr., how late did he go? He was late teens, mid-teens, 18, 19, somewhere in there?
Great question. I don't remember. I want to say like right around 20.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm remembering, like 21 or
23.
23. All right, so that's further than I thought. What do you want to do at 33? Like, would you be pro trading into the back end of the first? Do you want to stick and pick at 33? I mean, some of this probably hinges on what happens the first two picks, but what's your kind of mindset?
It's very dependent on the first two picks, I think. But of the two second rounders, like, they don't have a third. So if you want to trade down, I would prefer to trade down from 44, and you could still pick somewhere in the second round and get a third round pick, even if you drop like 10 spots from 44 and you go to like 54 or 60, somewhere in that range. Just because I feel like every year we do the draft and we wrap up, pick 32 ends, and we're like, I can't believe player 1, 2, and 3 are still on the board, and you're hoping that one of those three guys lands to the Jets, who have like the 5th pick in the second round. Well, they have the first, so they have the pick of the litter. And I would kind of like to keep that, because, you know, as Sam says about guys falling late in the first round, every year it feels like there's about 40 names where you go, oh, there's no way this guy falls out of the first round, and there's only 32 picks, so do the math. There's a lot of rollover. So I'd like to have the pick of the litter at the top of the second. That sounds pretty nice to me.
Yeah, I think as we kind of go through here, what do we got? We got, is it 8 teams left, right? So we're in the divisional round. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on Denver and what happens with them, because I feel like they would be the most likely trade up candidate for us, given the connection with 𝐒𝐿𝐫𝐲. And currently that would mean the highest you would have to get up is pick 25, assuming they lose. I don't even know, they may not even go down that far down, because obviously there's going to be a few losers this weekend. So they might still have to be, they might be 28 as long as Seattle wins. I think that would be how that works out. I guess for me, it depends on that 5th-year option. Like, let's say we go best player available at 2, best player available at 16, and you're getting to that late 20s area, and maybe Tai Simpson is there, and you're like, okay, it's worth it for us to give up, I don't know what pick it would have to be, but some pick to get up to get the 5th-year option on the quarterback. I would understand that. I don't want to trade 33 too early. I would, like you mentioned, I would like to sit at that pick and see who's available for day 2. And then if you feel like you want to trade down, you feel like you can get a good haul for that pick, you know, I think it's valuable. I think that's probably our most valuable pick right now. I think 2 is going to be too expensive to trade up for unless Moore is there and we don't want him and we're able to move out. I think it's probably not a great look. Like, I think we'd have to trade number 2 at a loss to move out of 2. Like, I don't think we're going to get the value we would hope to get out of the 2nd overall pick, being a team that needs.
If Moore is there, you're saying, or if he's not?
Well, definitely if Moore's not there, we wouldn't get the value. But I think if Moore's there, I don't think we're getting the like 2,500 points or whatever it is in a trade to make that move. I think it's almost having it happen at a loss. I think the way his last game ended, the 18 starts to his career, like, there's just a lot of uncertainty with him that I feel like maybe wasn't there in previous years' 2nd round picks or 2nd overall picks. I guess I kind of steered this away from the 33rd pick, but in my thought process, I think 33 is valuable, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think it depends. I think if someone likes Dante Moore, then you might be able to recoup the value. I don't think you're going to get some haul where you get, you know, like a future 1st round pick in the trade. But if Arizona wants to slide up a spot, like, you could probably get a 2nd round pick out of that, and they pick 34. So then to drop down to the 3rd pick and pick at 33 and 34 and 44. If you don't like the quarterback, I think that would be worth it.
Do you think you could get like a Kyler Murray and a 2nd for the 3rd pick to slide down? Like, you think that's enough value, or is that too much value and the Cardinals would like balk at that?
Well, that would be a wash pretty much, because the difference between the third and the second pick is like is roughly a second. So,
but if they're going to get rid of Kyler for us, like, I feel like the value in Kyler is that you would get, not that I don't really love Kyler, but I think from a like best quarterback potentially available on the market, I think Kyler probably is that. And I don't think he would choose the Jets in free agency. So I think us trading, even on like a not so great contract, we have more money than we could realistically burn, I think.
He'd be 42.5 million for the Jets next year if you're trading for that. That's
basically a year and a half deal is what you're signing. You're signing your bridge quarterback for 2 years.
Yeah, and no, I get that. I would want to take. I would hope that Arizona would attach something in addition for us to take on that contract, because they saved $34 million by just flat out cutting him. So you're kind of doing Arizona a favor, I feel like. And I know like the Jets need a quarterback, obviously. So you can make the argument that it's a wash on both sides. But I think it's an awful contract. It would be a $54 million cap hit for Arizona if they were to just keep him. So they're not going to keep him. They can cut him and save 30, whatever. But if they want to just trade it and really get it off there, I would be looking to get something in return to take that contract. Like the comparison that
pick isn't enough for you to like third pick, second round pick, or third overall, second round pick plus Kyler, not enough value for you to do that.
No. Because to me, it's to slide down one spot and to get the second round pick is like is a wash. And then you're also like Kyler Murray's, you're essentially just taking on the Kyler Murray contract. And I would say that in my mind I would view it that way. Now if he was a free agent and you don't have to pay him that contract, I think that changes things for me. But $42.5 million is a lot of money for a guy who almost never plays a full season. He missed 12 games this year. He missed, I believe, 8 a couple of years ago, and then played in 11. So he's had one full healthy year in the last 4.
So the Jets will have effectively $46 million worth of dead cap money between Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers for 2026. So whatever we pay a quarterback, plus the $46 million in dead cap we already have, is effectively what we're paying for a quarterback next year. So it'd effectively be like Kyler at $80 million. It's like sort of a weird roundabout way to look at that. I don't know. I would trade down with Arizona if that were a move. I like getting the second round pick. I guess I could do with or without Kyler at that point. He would be gone, I would think, theoretically. Like, I don't know if I want to trade out of 2 until I know for a fact Mendoza's not there. Like, to me, I would have trades lined up for the number 2 pick ahead of time and just sort of wait to see if the Raiders do something crazy.
Yeah, that's something you do on draft night. I don't think you do that. Like, for instance, the Jets traded up in March from pick 6 to 3 in the 2018 draft. Like, you're not doing that in March. That's probably, like you said, on the night of the draft.
Scuba comes in and says, feels great not being a part of this coaching cycle. Hold the disappointment. Not as great as watching Rodgers sulk off the field last night, though. Yeah, Matt, where did you stand on this Rodgers final game potential playoff run, whatever? He threw a little bit of shade at the Jets, saying he's been... I don't even know if it's necessarily throwing shade. He's been a part of 2 historic organizations, was the terminology that he used. And I don't think anyone in this chat is going to argue that the Jets are in the same tier as the Steelers or the Packers from a historical standpoint. I very much wanted to see Rodgers lose because I didn't want to see the narrative of, the Jets let a guy walk out the building. Like, he's exactly the quarterback we kind of thought he was. And ultimately, if we had him, we would not have 5 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks over these next 2 years. So I think it was nice to feel validated.
Well, yeah, I think that's the perfect word to use for it. the Steelers had essentially the same season that they had with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields that they had with Rodgers. And look, like Rodgers is a legendary quarterback, insane career. If that's it, like a part of me said, because like just grew up watching the guy and absolutely loved him, was one of my favorite quarterbacks. Didn't go well with the Jets. I didn't like how it ended. I thought it ended on a really sour note. And like it is what it is. He's, you know, he decided to leave. He's taken a couple shots at the Jets. I haven't really loved that because they gave him Nathaniel Hackett and Alan Lazard and a bunch of players that, you know, are his friends. That didn't really happen in Pittsburgh. So yeah, I mean, I can't say I was rooting for Aaron Rodgers, but last NFL pass, a pick six, I think. So is what it is.
Do you think we see him next year? Like any shot he winds up on the Vikings, or you think he's done?
I think he's done. I think teams will be interested, but man, I mean, even before, after 2022, he was pretty close to hanging it up. This offseason, I think he was pretty close to hanging it up too. I think we've reached the end here. I mean, in the last 2 weeks of the year, two obviously huge games for him, and just did not look good, man, against two teams with vaunted pass rushes. Like he just stood no shot against, you know, that Cleveland defense, or obviously against the Texans, which, my God, if CJ Stroud could even just figure it out a little bit, they would be such a dangerous team in the AFC. I'm going to be rooting hard for the Texans next week. I really like that team. They're probably my favorite in the AFC. Like to hop on a bandwagon, but 4 fumbles and 2 picks. Gross.
Brutal. His offensive line is such trash. They were showing like the PFF like rankings for all of them. I think it was, or no, you know, it was actually the Chargers. It was Herbert. Herbert's got a dog shit offensive line too. But just the amount of fumbles, I feel like every single snap was like a question mark. You had no idea if it was going to hit him. Like he didn't even know when it was coming half the time. Just brutal. And I like CJ Stroud, but man, he is leaving a lot to be desired over in Houston. John comes in and says, what do you guys think of taking the best possible player at 2 and then taking a quarterback at 16? I would say if I'm not taking a quarterback at 2, I guess it depends how you feel about Tai Simpson. If you think Tai Simpson like is probably going to go pick 20, pick 27, or just not making it to pick 33, and you want to make the selection of Tai Simpson at 16, I could get on board with it. I would understand that thought process. I think I like the idea of going best player available at 2 and at 16, and then going a quarterback at 33, even if it's a little bit of a reach. Like, I'm kind of not against the idea of like a Carson Beck. I don't really want Chambliss. I think the age is a bit of a concern. The height's a bit of a concern. He's a fun player. And I guess in the second round, you know, maybe pick 44 or something, you have some fun with that. I would say if we don't go the quarterback at 2, second round's what I prefer, because it gives you enough leeway to move off of that quarterback next year in what's supposed to be a good class. And I don't know if the difference in quarterback at 33 is that drastic from like Moore at number 2. Moore at 18 starts versus Carson Beck at, I don't even know how many starts he has, but he's got a lot. I mean, he's been in the college ranks a little bit, played for Georgia, obviously. Now I got to look it up. How many starts has he got?
I'm not the biggest Carson Beck guy personally. I like what you said about Chambliss. He's a really fun player, and I think he's going to end up having to come out. He's going to be really small when he measures in, I think. And that's another guy who doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt. But, you know, if you're taking him in the second round, obviously that's a little bit different. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little bit concerned about the size going to the next level and if that'll translate.
Carson Beck, 6'4", 215 pounds is what Sports Reference has on him from a height, weight perspective. He had 5 years at Georgia, didn't play his first 2 years. Not really, at least. I think he got injured. Had 14 starts in 2023, 13 starts in 2024. I believe was it a broken leg? He had something that, I forget what happened. He got hurt in the SEC championship game. and didn't get to play the playoffs that year. And then he had 15 starts with Florida this year. So he's played, or at least has been a part of 54 games. I'd have to see exactly. I don't know where to find like the actual starts in here, but he eclipses that 25. Like even if it's just the last 2 years, he's got 28 starts over the last 2 seasons. His average is like a 69.7, so 70% completion percentage. He's got 87 touchdowns to 31 interceptions. Man, if we had to go with a quarterback at 33, I didn't think Carson Beck would go that high. Like to me, I feel like he might be like a 3rd round quarterback. But if he winds up like balling out versus Indiana, I didn't realize this, but Indiana's an old team. They're like, their average age, I think, is like 24 years old, 25 years old. They have like, I think it's 45 guys north of 23 or north of 24 years old. That is a very old roster. If he beats that team, I think 33 is in play for him.
Maybe teams will fall in love with the size and that he has a ton of starts. I don't know. The arm strength isn't really there for me to jump on it. I think
Does
he's
Nussmeier or like is there a player at 33 quarterback wise that you 33 or 44, either one?
Simpson, if he gets there. That's it. I think there's a big drop off after that for if we're talking 2nd round.
What well, let's say Simpson goes in the 1st round, we don't get the opportunity for it. Would you even touch a quarterback in the 2nd round, or like what would your game plan kind of be?
I guess pray in the 4th round for like Garrett Nussmeier. He had a really bad year, but maybe you're banking like, hey, he was hurt this year and was trying to play through it, and LSU wasn't as good. I think you're talking yourself into something like that.
Someone like Alar, or like,
yeah, one of those two guys where
kind of like hanging around in the back end of the.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go with both Alar or Nussmeier over Carson Beck for me.
Okay. I would imagine we'll see Beck in the Senior Bowl, so we'll get a few more glimpses of him, I think, prior to. I mean, obviously we get the championship game. That'll be fun to watch. Interested. Sam comes in and says, the draft is heavy in safety. Oh, wait. You know what? Hold on. I don't think I addressed this with John. Would you go best player available at 2 and draft quarterback at 16? Let's call it Reese and Simpson.
Maybe. I know it's a really shitty answer.
That's a terrible answer. I'm sorry. The players.
Yeah, I know that's a really shitty answer. That might be the reality that they're facing though. So I think I could talk myself into Arvell Reese, quarterback at 16, wide receiver at 33, maybe something like that.
I think the only way that happens is Moore does not declare. I think if there's any situation where Moore declares, I would be shocked if the Jets don't select him. I would personally prefer to trade out of that selection. I think I don't think I want to make that pick with 18 starts. Just like it doesn't feel like we have the infrastructure in place to develop a quarterback like that, and that's bad because that could be like hey, we have Hackenberg on the back seat. We're going to pass on Mahomes and Watson type situation, and I'm looking ahead to next year. But like, I think I would value the picks over the player. Like, there's no way I'm passing on Moore to stay at 2 to select someone else. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
So you would take Moore at 2 in this scenario?
I would trade out of 2.
Oh,
okay. Like if you did not have. I mean, if there was no trade option and you had to decide Moore at 2 or best player available, that would be a shitty situation. God, there's way smarter people than me that can make this decision. I very much would feel like I'd like the trade out. So I would.
I think so too. I think I agree with you, but my God, this isn't an easy decision, right? Like, I feel like there's no right answer.
Yeah, you know, if the Jets trade out of 2, it's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, is what Moore's going to turn into. Like, I'm so confident in that.
And there's a world where he could be good, right? Like, I don't want to say that, like, oh my God, there's a. And I'm not the biggest Dante Moore fan, but I'm not going to pretend like there's nothing there. Like, I see why people like him. There's, he completes a high % of his passes. He can make every throw on the football field. He is supposedly a great kid off the field, and people love his leadership skills. Like that's reasons why if he comes out, which I'm starting to think he is going to come out. I've been very flip-floppy on that. I realize that, but
$50 million.
He's going to be a top 5 pick.
It'd be so bad to pass on that.
Just a high variance player. I could see him being a top 5 quarterback. I could see him being a 2-year starter, and then just maybe not as bad as Zach. That's kind of hard to do, but
yeah,
not the answer.
Dude, it scares me. Like watching him. I know it's just a 1-game sample size, but man, it's hard for me to watch that game that we saw on Friday and not think, shit, that looks just like a Jets quarterback. He's backpedaling, he's running away from pressure. Like it just like gave me the heebie-jeebies. And that is a terrible way to like analyze quarterbacks, and I shouldn't be doing it. I'm a fan. fucking blame me all you want. It just doesn't feel comfortable.
No, it's hard not to have that reaction. And again, like you want to watch more than just the one game. Like you don't want to just tune into the one game and be like, oh, well, he stunk in that game, so he stinks. But they played at Indiana twice this year, and he didn't look good in either of those games. And he wasn't particularly great against Texas Tech either. So there's, those are 3 really good teams and good defenses, which, is usually a benchmark to see how guys are going to do against deeper competition at the next level. And he didn't answer the bell for those. So that's a very valid concern to have about a player. And I already had some concerns about the player going into it, right? He's crazy young. He's 20 years old, doesn't have a ton of starts under his belt. I think he would need to sit to start his NFL career. And my worry is if the Jets were to take Dante Moore at 2 and they start 0-4, they pull the ripcord and be like, all right, we got to toss Dante Moore in now to try to save our jobs. And it's just too early.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing for me. I think Oregon in their 2 games versus Indiana, I'm pretty sure Indiana's given up 20 plus points in 3 games all season, and 2 of them were to Oregon. So I don't know if that's like a good thing. Like he performed better than the field against them. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to do a lot of like rewatching of Dante Moore if he comes out and all that. But I like the trade out option. Like in my mind, I'm kind of hoping the Rams win the Super Bowl and Stafford wins MVP. He gets Super Bowl MVP. He says, all right, I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to ride off into the sunset. And McVay is unable to trade for Joe Burrow. And he says, I'm going to give, I've been on the West Coast. I've been watching Dante Moore. I can groom him into everything he needs to be. I'm going to give the Jets 13, pick 32, and a first in 2027. And we're going to make that pick. And I would gladly give up that pick for that type of haul. And that would be the Jets losing about 400 points worth of value if you were to make that trade.
Still done. That's 4 first-round picks next year.
Mm-hmm. And then you could still draft Tai Simpson. Now, I think realistically, they'd probably more than likely get Burrow, or they'd sit and pick and overdraft, Tai Simpson or something like above that before they give up all those picks for more. But
I don't know. They've gone fuck those picks a ton under Sean McVay, so you never know.
Dude, they gave up. So when they traded up to 1 to get Goff, they gave up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. And to go from 13 on up, maybe even you could call it like 2 firsts and a second, like shit. Like, I don't know, man. That's just a lot of picks to help us rebuild. I don't know. I think I'm team trade out of 2 if Moore's there. I think either way, we probably want, well, I guess I shouldn't say either way we want Moore to come out. I think there's a large chunk of the fan base, and I would include myself in this, that is scared to death of Dante Moore. And if he's there, I don't think the Jets trade out. I think they're going to take him. So if you're kind of in the trade out camp, you're almost in like I hope Dante Moore doesn't come out sort of side of things, and you just hope that like the Jets pick the best player available. I don't know. What's your kind of gut feeling at 2? Like, are you in this same sort of conundrum headspace that I'm in?
I think I want him to come out because it gives you more options.
But do you think the Jets will leverage those options? Like, I agree with you. Yes, 110%. Yes. Like, it makes sense for him to come out because it gives us the option to trade down where it wouldn't be otherwise. But like with Glenn and Muji's jobs on the line, do you think trade outs even on the table?
I think it could be, yeah. If they don't like him, they're going to, I think they could spin and go to Woody and say, we don't like him and we're going to get an even more haul and continue to build up the roster.
And now do you think that they're able to survive their job? Like that's the part that gets me, is like we're in this weird space of Glenn needing to save his job and Muji needing to save his job potentially. And that may not align with the best interests of the Jets.
Well, what if they go the veteran quarterback route and say, we think we could sign someone in free agency that can keep us relevant and we can, hang or this is the positives. This is not me predicting what's going to happen, but This is me as Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji trying to sell it. Say, hey, we could bring in Malik Willis and we'll take somebody on, day 2. And we believe that, with this trade, we'll build up the rest of the roster and we could be an 8 or 9 win team and be punchy and have a big improvement and set ourselves up, and find our long-term guy in 27. And then the roster's built and he's going to come in and be great. And we're going to hit our stride and go in 2027. I think that would be the sell. Does it actually work out that way? Like, I don't know. I see a world where they bring in like Mariota or Malik Willis or whatever, and they win like 4 or 5 games and then they're probably out of a job. But if you don't like Dante Moore, I don't think you should force it at 2. And I think there will be teams that like him and would be interested in moving up.
I hope you're right. I have no faith in our fucking Jets. Sam comes in. Sam says, the draft is heavy in safety, edge, and cornerback. Which position would you guys consider picking up to 2 players? Are you saying double dipping, I guess? My thought process in the top part of this draft, I want to come away with our 4 picks. I want to get a quarterback, a linebacker, a receiver, and an edge rusher. I don't really care in what order. I'm pretty open to that. I would say more than likely you're probably either going edge rusher at 2, 33, or 44 would be my guess. And then quarterback is probably, I guess, 2, 16, or 33. I would be all right passing on safety and corner with the top 4 picks that we have. If you want to talk me into pick 44 in any one of those, if you really love a guy, like that's fine. But you had mentioned trading for Jesse Bates. I like that move a lot more than drafting a safety this year. And I'd rather look at safety maybe in 27, whether that be the free agent class or the draft class. I think edge is the biggest need we have of these 3 positions. And I don't think it's even close. Like, I'm not so sure Jermaine's on this team beyond next year. I hope he is. I'm not even sure Will McDonald's on this team beyond next year. Like, could you see a situation where Saleh gets a job and offers a pick for Will McDonald? Like, I could totally see that happen.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think edge is a big need, and because of the positional value, I think obviously there is a stronger likelihood that they would go edge in the first round over safety, but I would argue safety is a bigger need, but it also depends on what they do in free agency, because at least at edge, you can go, all right, our top 2 guys are going to be Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson next year. Those are our 2 penciled in starters. You need more than just 2 guys. You need like 3 or 4 to have a good rotation. At safety, you have Malachi Moore and that's it. Right. So now if you sign someone in free agency or sign 2 people in free agency, which is possible, safeties don't make a ton of money. So like you could allocate, I don't know, let's just throw a number out there, $30 million to 2 safeties instead of throwing $30 million to one guy at quarterback or edge or corner or wide receiver or whatever. It's easier to do that. But I would think, if just looking at this for the double dip scenario, I would throw another position in there too that isn't mentioned, linebacker. I think linebacker is absolutely a position that they should look to add in free agency and the NFL draft. And if they took a linebacker in the second round and the sixth round or whatever, like they have so many day 3 picks, I think we're going to see a decent amount of double ups, and safety and linebacker are the two that really jump out to me for that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you were starting to go in a direction that I was agreeing with linebacker and safety, and I would even say D-line. I would double dip at all of them, but it would be double dip in the sense of I want a free agent and I want a relatively high draft pick. Like particularly at linebacker. Like if you could tell me I could get Anzalone and Sonny Styles, perfect. I'm on board with that. Amazing. You tell me I could get trade a late round pick for Rashawn Gary, and we could use maybe number 2 on Arvell Reese, or a second round pick on one of the edge rushers that are hanging around there. Like great, I'm on board with that. Safety, maybe you trade for a Jesse Bates and you take that cap hit, and then you go out and you draft a safety in the 4th round, pick 44 or something like that. I'm on board. I think the late round picks, you're probably looking for high upside guys that, maybe they're special teams guys, long shots, maybe there's some type of issue, injury or something as to why they fell. So I agree. I think we could see double ups because of the vast amount of picks, but I don't know if I'm like factoring those guys in. Like they're almost all Tyler Barons in my head of like, I'm not expecting much. They're just, if they hit perfect, like that's great. They're a special teams guy. Good question, Sam. NY Coder Bear says, would love to find a quarterback this year, though thoughts on Beck and Allard day 2 or 3. If we can find a quarterback this year, picks next year worth a lot more for trade downs. Yeah, I am more on board with quarterback day 2 at pick 33 than anything else. I think 33 is that sweet spot, whether it be, if Tai Simpson's there, awesome. Like that would be a great pick. If it's Carson Beck, if it's, some of these quarterbacks are going to rise up. Remember this time 2 years ago, Penix, Nix, JJ McCarthy, none of these guys were considered first round options, and they all elevated themselves into the top 12 of the draft. So I think there is potential for the Senior Bowl, the Combine, the Pro Days, and all that for guys to elevate more. Like I think Tai Simpson's ultimately going to have to be picked at 16 if you were going to make that selection. And to me, I have the same concerns about Simpson that I do about Moore. And I think day 2 would be my preference, because I like the idea of getting 2 cracks at this quarterback thing. And you can even call it 3 cracks. I mean, let's say you get Malik Willis in free agency, and then you spend a second round pick on a quarterback. That second round pick quarterback could be like, your long-term backup for his rookie career, if you really wanted to. And then if it doesn't work out, 2027, you got another swing at it because you didn't overly invest financially or draft capital-wise. So my thought is I like day 2 quarterback.
I like where your head's at with it. Of the 2 guys that is mentioned by NY Coder, I would say Allard. I like his traits more than Carson Beck. And if you're going to take a swing on a guy outside the first round, I'm going to bet on the traits. So neither of those 2 guys are my favorites in this class, but I would have a little bit more faith in Allard than Beck figuring it out at the next level.
Yeah, and I think you can lean on Allard too, as far as like he's very Josh Allen-esque from a size comparison. He's played in cold weather, so you could like that. There's plenty of knocks against both these quarterbacks, but I see where your head's at. I wouldn't necessarily disagree either way. You might be able to get Allard a little bit later too. I would say either one could be a day 2 pick. I don't think either one makes it to day 3. I think third round's the floor for both guys.
Fair.
We got Fletch in here. Fletch says, if Cignetti has won at all levels, regardless of who his quarterback is, why should I not believe Mendoza is a system quarterback? NFL will be different. Hey, look, there's going to be guys that are going to nitpick Mendoza because of his coach, because of the talent surrounding him, because of the age of the players surrounding him, because of the relative ease of schedule heading into the college football playoffs. But now he is beating the teams that he should be beating. He's showing up, I think, at the most opportune times. it just feels like the ball placement is always there. He's making the right throws. Like everything about Mendoza to me, regardless of how good Cignetti is, just checks the right boxes. He just screams very high floor. Like, I don't think he's going to bust. Maybe he doesn't have the sky high ceiling to be a top 5 or 10 quarterback, but shit, I would take top 12. Like you said, like if you told me he's going to be Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff, that is worth the number 1 or number 2 pick all day. Cause I think you could win a Super Bowl with either one of those guys.
I think so too. And on the Cignetti comments, he hasn't had, like, if that was the case and his system is so great, and why wouldn't he be a system quarterback? Like none of his other quarterback, can you name a James Madison or Elon or IUP quarterback that he developed and got drafted? So I think you got to give a little bit of credit to the player and the prospect in their development, and Cignetti is a big part of it. This is obviously the biggest program that he's had, right? Like Indiana is a bigger program than James Madison, but I think for me, I would be willing to take that shot. He also recruited. I just pulled it up. He recruited Russell Wilson, and he coached Phillip Rivers, and those are 2 guys that ended up having pretty good NFL careers. So I don't think it would be just strictly, hey, they were good in college, but it didn't work out in the NFL because their college coach was so good and the NFL coach isn't good and the system was bad. So I wouldn't really worry about that.
So I was just trying to figure out, God, what is the Miami coach has had a bunch of quarterbacks under him, if memory serves correct, and I'm just trying to go through it. Was he Herbert's coach? I feel like he was.
Who?
Cristobal, the Miami head coach. I think he was. Yeah. So Oregon offensive coordinator 2017 and head coach 18 to 21. He came out in what, 20? Was that?
Yes.
So he would have had to coach him then.
For 2 years.
Yeah. FIU. I feel like there's more. I'm trying to remember like which quarterbacks were under him. I feel like I remember this being like a factoid here. Let me see if I could find any of them. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm just thinking because of coaching and system quarterbacks, could Beck fall into a similar type situation because of where he is too? I don't know. You guys can let me know in the chat, some of these guys. Why is waiting for Dante Moore's decision feeling like the Rodgers decision 2 years ago? I think from an anticipation...
I don't know if I go that far.
No, I wouldn't either. I was way more juiced and believed way harder in Rodgers wanting to come here. Like there was a confidence knowing Rodgers was not gonna retire. I knew he was gonna come to the Jets, and I thought it was the right move. I like all the right things. With Moore, there's an anticipation of like, is he gonna come out? Is he not gonna come out? I don't view him as the savior at all. I do think that a lot of fans are going to feel real shitty if he doesn't come out, because it's like, oh, of course the Jets have the number 2 pick in a 1 quarterback class. I guess it's probably the most similar feeling that we've had in recent years. And it's not overly similar other than the fact that we're waiting on a decision. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it does. His decision does have a major impact on the Jets. So there's a big reason why Jet fans are watching this so closely. For me, and this is obviously, I think Joe the Jet was being a little hyperbolic with his comments. It's not quite that level, but it is going to have a massive impact come April, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. Tank for Ty says, is it possible to overdraft a franchise quarterback? No, not at all. That's why I said I think Tai Simpson at 16 is probably where you'd have to get him. Heck, I mean, if Moore doesn't come out, or even if Moore comes out, like, there's no reason Tai Simpson can't go 2 overall. Like, there was a point where Connor Rodgers was mocking the Jets getting Tai Simpson 2 overall. I think at that point, Miami was going to, like, potentially have the number 1 overall pick, and they were saying how Mendoza would go there. I think there's a world where Simpson wows people in the offseason. There was a stretch of like 5 or 6 games that people were super hyped up on Simpson too, and I don't think that just goes away. I think there's a reason why he went to Alabama. I think there's, you can make the argument about the running game in Alabama. Maybe the talent wasn't up to snuff the way it was the last few years. Tank for Ty, obviously lobbying for Tai Simpson. But Matt, could you see a world where Tai Simpson goes 2 overall or comes screaming up draft boards? Like, where's your thought process on him right now?
I think he is a late first, early second round pick. I think that's where we're going to see him end up. Unfortunately, with how his season ended, I think that's going to be the sticking point. And there's a low number of starts mixed in there, and he's an older prospect. There's things to like about Tai Simpson. I'm not saying that he stinks, and there's no chance that he's can't work out at the next level. But to answer his question too, no, if you draft a franchise quarterback, that's worth the 1-1 pick. So you literally cannot overdraft a franchise quarterback.
Brock Purdy, if he came out and you knew what he was going to become, would be the first overall pick. Like, just, it is what it is. You get a franchise guy, it's worth its pick in gold all damn day. Nick, friend of the show, coming in. What's up, Shine? Says Tomlin didn't need the most stable organization in sports to take on the biggest shit show. Let it go, Jet fans. Yeah, I think at best case scenario, you're looking towards 2027 because he is going to sit out that year. With the no trade clause, do we see him waiving it to come here versus other teams? We'd sure as shit have to make our team look a whole lot better. I'm not I am not remotely confident that Tomlin would come here. Ooh. No. We've got someone popping in on the back side of things. I'm excited. Let's see. Let's get him. Let his camera pop up once he's ready to talk. But yeah, what are your thoughts? You think Jets would have a shot at Tomlin next year, or you think he would choose a more stable organization?
I think you would more than likely pick a stable organization, but 3 first round. It depends on what the state of the roster is and where those 3 first rounders are. If one of them is the number 1 pick and he loves, I don't know, for argument's sake, Arch Manning, maybe he would want to coach him and would get him here. And if things are going bad with Aaron Glenn next year to the point where they have the number 1 pick, would not shock me if Woody's like, we just need to get in someone who's proven that they've done it before and make a really big offer to him. But Nick brings up a great point that it's probably going to be hard to woo a guy like that.
I feel like if you got the first overall pick, you'd have to do a lot of wooing to make sure Arch comes to your team. Like, I feel like you'd be like, all right, Arch, we're planning you to be our pick. Who do you want to coach? We'll go out, we'll go get Tomlin. We'll go out, we'll go get whoever. We'll throw all the assets around to make it comfortable and make it happen. I think that's the only way you wind up getting him. Thank you, Nick, in here. Nick, I see your other super chat in here, but I want to get our buddy backstage on board. Mr. Dom C in the house. What's up, Dom?
What's up, boys? How are you?
Hey, Dom.
Hi, Maddie. How are you?
Doing good. Good to have you.
Listen, I just got home and was doing some writing up some stuff on some of these Senior Bowl prospects and listening to the show as always. So I figured since I have the link, I'd stop by and say hello.
Hell yeah, hello. Dom. We're glad to have you in here. We're talking a little bit about, obviously, pick number 2, Dante Moore's performance, the thoughts of all that. I'm just going to rip through a few super chats. I want to get your thoughts as we kind of go through here. Gage, I don't see a comment attached to this, but thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Idle says, Alar, Beck, Nussmeier, and even Ty would give me Hackenberg vibes if you pick them before day 3. It would be a waste of a second-round pick. They would show just enough promise to prevent us from from picking a quarterback in 2027. I disagree. I could understand where you, like, if you say, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback and we're going to redshirt him the entire year, that's not my game plan. Like, if we're drafting a quarterback in the second round, I want to see him for at least half the season. Like, I want him to sit behind a veteran. I want him to try and push a little bit, but there's no world where I go through an entirety of next season and not see that second round quarterback play, because you do have to make a decision in 2027. And at that point, if you don't see them, it would not prevent me from going quarterback in 2027. I'll say that much. Dom, what are your thoughts on Allard, Beck, Nussmeier, and Tai Simpson? Any chance he gives you Hackenberg vibes if you pull the trigger on day 2, and would it just be burning a draft pick?
No. Well, first off, let me say I think you can probably talk about all of them separately. I wouldn't lump all 4 of those names together. I don't think it would be wasting a draft pick, and here's my kind of quick take on it. Right? If for some reason you don't take a quarterback at 2, whether you choose to not take Dante Moore, which I do not think will be the situation for the Jets. They've done enough homework on him. I have a feeling, barring something that they came up, while they went and saw him, I think 5 or 6 times, that he wasn't going to be the guy. I think if you don't take a quarterback at 2, any other time doesn't take you out of the equation for a quarterback in 2027. If you take a quarterback at 2, whether it's Mendoza, whether it's Moore, whether it's Simpson, whomever it is, whoever your quarterback at 2 is, I think you're out of the quarterback market in 2027, right? Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't be a waste of a pick. Let's just say Allard's the first name listed here, all right? Let's just say you take Allard and, whatever. You move around, you move up, you move down, you get some extra picks, and you take him late in round 2. Right? You pick number 60. You see what you have in him. And at worst, if it doesn't go well and the season doesn't go well and you're in, striking distance of a quarterback next year, maybe you just have 2 guys under contract, right? You're going to need a backup. I don't understand the concept of people not wanting to have multiple people that could be good at their position. Like, Ryan, I heard you talking about it before, where you want to double certain position, you want to double dip, free agency in the draft. Absolutely. And that's my whole thing with the quarterback position. Like, even if you go get a Dante Moore at 2, or, a Tai Simpson at 22, or, a Nussmeier at, 62. Why can't you do that and still entertain, a free agent like, Malik Willis, or, Tanner McKee if he jostles loose? Why can't you bring those guys in and compete and at least have a full healthy, a full, more robust room? It doesn't have to be just one guy hanging by a thread, and then if that guy goes down, it's the whole season's in shambles, right? And we're having Brady Cook starting 7 games for us again, or 5 games for us.
Bailey Zappi, boy.
Bailey Zappi, that's right. So for me, it wouldn't be a waste of a pick. And in a year when you have 4 top 45 picks, I think you have the luxury of having, taking an extra shot somewhere where you wouldn't, right? So maybe, just maybe, using one of those picks to secure, you use the Dallas pick 45 to secure what maybe your quarterback of the future if you get lucky, and if not, maybe he's your long-term backup. Look at what Chicago did, right? Chicago Bears drafted Caleb Williams, and the next year they drafted Tyson Bagent, right? Tyson Bagent wasn't gonna usurp Caleb Williams, but they just gave him long-term money. Now he's the long-term backup over there. It's not a bad business plan, if you ask me.
Matt, what about you? These particular quarterbacks, they give you maybe Hackenberg vibes, show you just enough where you don't pull the trigger on, a Mahomes or a Watson the following year?
I don't think so. I think if you take a quarterback outside of round 1, you're okay to go quarterback the next year. It'd be very different if they took, like Dom was saying, if they took one of those guys with the number 2 pick. But I don't view any of those 4 listed as someone who would be a second overall pick. for me of these four, my preference would be Tai Simpson. I think he's the best of that group. And hey, if he's sitting there for you at the start of day two and you want to just go best available with your first two picks and you take Tai Simpson at 33, I think it's worth a shot. And if it doesn't work out, he's not showing you enough or whatever, then who's to say you can't take a quarterback the next year with your first round picks? And Tai Simpson maybe is a long-term backup for you, right? Like, I don't think it would be a wasted pick, even if they did a dart throw on one of those guys.
So we've been talking a little bit about Tai Simpson. I think most fans are of the consensus Tai Simpson would be quarterback 3, or is in a different tier than maybe Allard, Beck, and Nussmeier. Dom, what's your feel on Beck, Nussmeier, and Allard? Like maybe round projection, or maybe your pros and cons on those 3 guys in particular.
Yeah. So of these, Simpson is now that people have returned to school and did all that. Simpson is my number 3. Garrett Nussmeier is my number 4. Allard is my number 6, and Beck is my number 8 quarterback in the class. I'll go in reverse. Beck, I think is I just think Beck, he looks the part, right? And when he's clean, when his pockets are clean and he's asked to just get back there and survey and rip, he does that really, really good. But the more I watch Carson Beck, and I've watched him intensely since he was with Georgia, the more I watch him, the more I think that there's probably nothing more than exactly that, a long-term backup. He's a guy who kind of has happy feet and gets the antsy with perceived pressure that might not be there. I mean, we watched it last game. If you guys watched the last game, there's numerous times, and not even once, like numerous times where he just ran out of clean pockets, because he thought he felt pressure, got nervous, got the jitterbug, and it took off. And yeah, he's not a guy that handles pressure well. He doesn't play out of the pocket very well, although he does have a strong arm. Like once you ask him to do something off platform, it just doesn't go well. The accuracy goes down the tube. So I think for him, I have like a day 3 grade on him, but I think that's, he's probably like the top of your career backup, come in and fill a game for an injury, so on and so forth. Hopefully he doesn't lose a game, but probably not going to really ever, usurp a starting quarterback or be asked to, be given the keys. Nussmeier, is that no? Who did I say it was? I went backwards, right? Allard.
Yeah,
Allard's the question. Allard's the big question mark, right? Because again, and especially for the Jets, it's an even bigger question mark because, he's got the build, 6'5", 230 some odd pounds, right? 238 pounds, I think he is, or he was. He's got a strong arm. He's from the Northeast. He's played in the Northeast. He can deal with the Northeast weather. Again, he's a guy who the injury really hurt him because I think he's a guy that needed to prove just some reps to kind of get that development kind of finish. There's times where Drew Allard makes, some ridiculous tight window throws that make your jaw drop. And then there's other times where it feels like he doesn't know what he's looking at and he just checks it down. Right. And there's more check downs than there needs to be. Like a guy that big and a guy that strong shouldn't be labeled as a check down Charlie, and to boot, Drew Allard, man, I think the thing that he's going to have to prove he's over is when the pressure is at its biggest, when he's playing the biggest games or the best defenses, he always has his worst performances. Right. So he's the biggest question mark. Like the injury, maybe he worked out some kinks and he's going to come back and he's been working with a coach and he's a whole new quarterback, or he's just going to be a guy that what could have been, right? Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. So, and then Nussmeier is a guy that I really like. I know I'm one of the few. I liked him last year. I think he caught a little bit of a bad rap. He had a bad season this year. There's no denying that. LSU had a bad season this year. He was playing, he was playing a little banged up. He was playing hurt. I think him going to the Senior Bowl is going to be huge because he can show and prove that he's, healthy. And if he's healthy, I think he's one of those guys that is on the cusp. I'm not comparing him to, Brock Purdy, but he could come on and take a Brock Purdy. I could see him having a Brock Purdy-esque rise to an NFL starter. Remember, he's the son of an offensive coordinator and a quarterback's coach. The guy's technically sound. He's got a good arm. He's a little bit slight, he's gonna, if he measures in at 6 feet tall, I'd be surprised. That's gonna be like the max 6 feet 200. So he's a little bit, undersized, a little bit small. But I think he can make all the throws, and he's just got to prove that he's healthy. He didn't play. What Garrett Nussmeier showed me this year is that when things went bad, he lacked the ability to kind of just put the team on his shoulders and carry him over the hump. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was that. And then Tai Simpson. Tai Simpson's the anomaly. Tai Simpson. It wouldn't surprise me if 5 years from now we're saying Tai Simpson's the best quarterback in this class. And it wouldn't surprise me if 5 years from now Tai Simpson's out of the league.
Could go any direction.
It can go any direction. He's a little bit like I said. He's got accuracy issues. But I think he probably can play the quarterback position the most. You see him identifying the mic, checking out, calling hot reads, doing all that stuff that you want your quarterbacks to do. So the pre-snap stuff is there. He's probably the most athletic of all those guys. So he can create if he needs to with his legs, although he's not a dual threat guy. He can hurt you a little. He can, hurt you with his legs. You just want to see him. Where he struggles is man, I don't know if I could take another season of watching guys throw, dirt ball screen passes. And that's what, he has a tendency to do. Now his receivers gave him no help this year. He had no running game to go on. I think he probably could have benefited from another year in college. But he probably got, he probably got the buzz that he was going to be a first rounder or close to it. And I think that's exactly where you're going to go. If the Jets hone in on Tai Simpson, I think you either got to commit to using pick 16 on him, or you got to commit to trading up from 33 to get him.
I'm interested to see which direction they go. I do think that the day 2 quarterback feels appealing to me because of the ability to move off of them. You'd mentioned the Jets have been at a bunch of Dante Moore's practices. I think we were talking maybe 6 practices or 6 games.
6 games. I think it was 6 games for Dante Moore that we know about. 5 for
Mendoza.
5 for Mendoza, and they were at Simpsons too. I just don't know exactly. I mean, I didn't get confirmation of
that. Gage had put in a super chat before. What's your opinion on Nussmeier top 40 pick in your opinion? So, would you take Nussmeier at 44 if that were the move?
I'll say this: I have a 3rd round grade on Nussmeier. I fully expect him to get drafted before the 3rd round, though. I think he's going to go in the 2nd round. I think somebody's going to reach on the idea that that 2025 was a little bit of a wash because he was injured, that he can kind of sit and develop and maybe turn into something. Again, there's very few quarterbacks here in this draft class that you would feel comfortable handing the keys over to. Mendoza included. And I'm as big of a Mendoza fan as it comes. But, the product isn't perfect from him either, I want to see, and he did it. He showed that he's able to adapt to a new offense, like Cal's offense and Indiana's offense for Mendoza were completely different, and he was able to adapt well. But if you ask me, I think he went from a more complex offense to a little bit more of a simpler offense, where he's asked the RPO is real quick, 3 steps, first read and bang it, very, very few long developing plays. So I don't know if any quarterback is ready to hand it over. Nussmeier in top 40. It wouldn't floor me, shock me. I think it might be a little bit, a little bit rich. I'll stick to the Jalen Hurts spot 52. I think if you're right around there, that's a comfortable spot for Nussmeier. Again, I have a 3rd round grade on him. You would have to, but quarterbacks are always overdrafted in that sense.
Idol says Aller might be Hackenberg 2.0. Obviously,
you're absolutely right.
Dude, Hackenberg
because he went to the same school.
Penn State. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Sam Darnold's the next Mark Sanchez, who's the next Matt Leinart, who's the next Carson Palmer. Who knows? People attribute schools all the way around.
Aller is the one that I really just don't know. Like you just don't know how it's going to be. Maybe it was James Franklin in the Penn State offense that was holding him back. Somebody might draft the next coming of Brett Favre for all we know.
Yeah, I think because of how poor the coaching was at Penn State, it makes that a little bit more intriguing. I was super high on Aller and wanted to see what was going to go on with him this year. I didn't like how he played earlier in this year. I don't like that he got hurt. He did not perform well in the big games last year. I'm super leery on it. If you could convince me that the coaching was the issue, maybe I could be swayed in picking him in the middle, day 2, day 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Nick had dropped him with the super chat, says, appreciate you guys. This show is amazing without Green Bean ruining it. Winky face. Obviously, we're missing Green Bean here. We can't wait to get him back. Ryan, see you Sunday. I'll be on Nick Shine's show Sunday night. If you guys want to come hang out with us, I think he said 8 o'clock. I don't know if I get on until 8:30 or 9, but sometime Sunday afternoon if you guys want to hang out at some point. Blitzkrieg comes in and says, I am done with getting a coach to meet a quarterback's demands. Burned too recently with Aaron Rodgers. Less than 25% of people hitting the milk thumbs. Milk thumbs, boys and girls.
Milk thumbs.
So what Blitz is referring to here is my saying of, Arch, what coach do you want? It's not so much what coach Arch wants. It's like, okay, your family's going to have a lot of influence around you. What do we think as a team is the best decision for coach that won't scare Arch into going back to school? Because
Ryan, I got one even better for you, bud.
What?
Hear it.
Hey, Peyton.
Yes.
Come on over. Be our president of football operations, a la Matt Ryan in Atlanta. We don't care that you didn't play here, but we'll let you have real influence on who our next coach and GM and so on and so forth is going to be. Can't ask Eli. Eli will never do it, being a former Giant.
No Adam Gase coaches from Peyton, hopefully.
Yeah.
God, that would be brutal. I don't hate the decision though. I think it could be a lot worse. Sam comes and says, Dom, is Simpson's 4-read progression legit?
I'm not sure, Sam. I'll tell you this. I like what Simpson does pre-snap. Probably as good as anybody in this class. Maybe Sawyer Robertson from Baylor is another guy who I think pre-snap is really active and identifies what's going on or what the defense is going. Like, to me, that shows high IQ quarterback play, which you like. I'm not sure about 4-read progressions. You would hope at some point quarterbacks are doing that. Most collegiate systems or offensive schemes aren't asking them to do or go through all that much. So I don't know. I can't. I wish I could answer your question, Sam, but I really can't.
Abbott comes in and says, who do you boys like at 2, if not Dante Moore? Reese could be a stud in my opinion. I like taking Simpson at 16 or Chambliss at 33 and getting a bridge vet quarterback. I think getting a bridge vet quarterback, regardless of which quarterback you take, is going to be really important. And I would try to focus on getting the best one possible. If Malik Willis shows some desire to maybe be in New York, I would try to get him. And then I would try to find a rookie quarterback. And, you just keep stacking those chips. I would say if it's not Moore at 2, I want the Jets to trade out of 2 if he's in the draft. If Moore goes back to school and the Jets have to stick and pick, Arvell, Reese, one of the edge rushers kind of is what I would gravitate towards because I think that's really a major area of concern. Dom and I have talked about Sonny Styles possibly. It's crazy high up there, but man, the dude sure seems like a lock. I think it would probably be Reese would be my first thought. I don't like Chambliss at 33. I think the height and the age are just going to be enough for me to take a gamble on someone else. Simpson.
Yeah, you're gonna have some. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
You're gonna have some very people really tuned into the measurements at not only at the Senior Bowl but definitely at the Combine. Like, I don't know if those have watched 𝐒𝐫𝐞𝐫𝐢. Is immensely talented. I'm not. I will bet money he's going to come in under 5'10".
He looks small.
I'm not kidding. It's just hard to really bank on a guy who's going to be 5'8", 5'9", right?
Yeah, he standing at the Heisman ceremony. Like, obviously Mendoza's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
Like, he looked like a foot shorter. It was like a noticeable difference.
Chambliss is going to be, Chambliss and Nussmeier are two others that I think are really going to need to be over 6 feet and over 200 pounds to really not be taken off of some boards completely.
And hand size too. What do you know, like, where they sort of are? I mean,
No.
obviously we'll find that out at the Combine, but
you'll see
8 inches
somewhere,
is
at least
kind of the standard.
9.
9
is
sorry,
the,
8 is too small.
Yeah.
8 was 8.5.
9
I think was
is
Baker.
like
Pickett was like 8.25.
9 is like the standard or average that you're looking for, but at least for the guys in the Senior Bowl, they'll get those measurements done and out before the Senior Bowl starts at the end of January. So,
so quarterbacks that are going to be at the Senior Bowl right now, according to the Senior Bowl website, Talon Green, Arkansas, he's a fun quarterback, 6'6", big dude. You mentioned Sawyer Robertson, Baylor, Luke Altmaier, Illinois, and 𝐒𝐫𝐞𝐫𝐢, and Cole Payton out of North Dakota State.
Cole Payton and Garrett Nussmeier.
So Nussmeier, if he's confirmed, they just haven't updated the website.
Yeah, he's confirmed for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of those quarterbacks, I guess you've mentioned Nussmeier is a little bit higher on your list. Of the other guys that we just kind of rattled off, is there any thought about the Senior Bowl guys?
I am super excited to see Sawyer Robertson. I think he might be the best pure passer of all of them. Like, he might be the best pure, actually I shouldn't say that. He probably definitely is the best pure passer of all these guys that are going to be here. He throws a good ball, strong arm, played at Baylor a little bit wide open of an offense. So I'd like to see him in a little bit more structure and see what he looks like really with my eyes on him. Cole Payton's a fun, like really fun watch, really fun film study, really fun prospect. He's the closest thing, and I know I said it to you, Ryan. I think, but he's exactly what Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming. Like, the play style is so similar. They're huge. They are dual threats, but they're not dual threats like going to shake you out of your shoes like Lamar. Cole Payton is going to run through you at 236 pounds. And he's got an absolute howitzer of an arm. Like, he's got a cannon that could he'll throw the ball 60, 70 yards. That deep ball is beautiful. The timing and the in rhythm stuff is a little bit slow for him. I think he's only got 10 starts under his belt. It's the only year he started as a 24, 25-year-old kid. So
5 years in college.
It's gonna be a tough sled for him. But if Buffalo took him in like round 5 and just let him sit and learn from Josh Allen, like, you might actually have something there. And Altmaier's a nice quarterback too. He's got some dual threat abilities. He's bounced around a little bit. Nothing special. I don't think he's going to be, like I said, I have a late day 3. He's actually the last draftable grade of all the quarterbacks that I scouted. He's got the last draftable grade. So he's got like around 7th grade on him. 𝐒𝐫𝐞𝐫𝐢 is one step ahead of him at quarterback 14 and Altmaier's quarterback 15. So you're probably talking about guys who are either going to be drafted late and not make 53s or be priority UDFAs. Talon Green. I didn't talk about Talon Green.
That's what I was going to say. Where's Green on your list?
Yeah. Green is quarterback 10. Green is a true dual threat guy too. Like, he can really hurt you with his legs. He played at Boise. He's big. He'll push 6'5", 6'6". a big dude, can move. He's just, accuracy is not his forte. Not like even remotely his forte. I think he's like a
60%
career
or so.
Yeah, under say less than 60% for his career. I mean, it's pretty bad. So
Let's see. He is.
I should have it here.
On the career, 59.5. This year was 60.4. Adjusted completion percentage, 71.2, though.
Okay, that's not terrible.
I feel like I like looking at that number. Now, that does take into account like throwaways, which could skew it a little bit, I guess.
And he's also another one, kind of like in the mold, not in the mold of, but like very similar to like Lenore Sellers last year, where that pressure to sack rate is just like through the roof. Like he can't get away from it, doesn't feel the pressure coming on, and or tries to scramble too much and does those backward S movements to try to make a play. So there's a lot of that going on there with Taylor Green.
Mike says, Dom, give us the full breakdown on Dante Moore. What are your thoughts at 2?
Ready.
Oh, man. You can catch my scouting report being put out on Jets X Factor. Shameless plug. But that is coming out this weekend. I'll tell you this with Dante Moore. I think that there's a lot of recency bias going into people's evaluations of Dante Moore. They watched him play a bad, not a great game against Indiana, and not a great game against Texas Tech. He had flashes in both of those games, but I think the big picture of Dante Moore is really, really like promising. I'll say this: it's a first round talent for me. He was my number 3 rated quarterback behind only Mendoza and Mensah. Mensah went back to school. He's my 15th overall prospect in the class. There's no doubt that he has one of the better, more advanced arms and arm talent in the world. Like, he just effortlessly throws the ball. The placement's good. He can throw with anticipation. He can layer it over the second level and drop it in a bucket. He can throw, not only can he throw receivers open, but he hits NFL windows.
Feels like a very catchable ball too. Like, it's just like,
absolutely.
Effortless.
It's effortless. Like a flick of the wrist. He's just a natural passer. What I love about him is that those motions are so repeatable. His mechanics are so repeatable, and his arm is so loose and he's so free when he throws that he can even do that off platform on the rollout. He still keeps everything, pointed downfield and doesn't lose. Like, some people lose a lot of accuracy or a lot of zip as they're rolling out, but he doesn't. He does a really good job at that. I think he can get through his progressions good. I don't think he's like confused on the whole thing. Listen, he doesn't handle pressure well right now. And I think the thing going against him is that he's 20 years old and 19 starts under his belt. And unfortunately the NFL is not a developmental league, so he's not going to come in here and get to see a bunch of reps to figure out how to get his his internal clock working better, or how not to just drift back when you put pressure into the A gaps in his face. That the NFL is not a developmental league, so. He's a guy who I comped very much so to Jordan Love coming out of Utah State. Was the same exact thing, right? Jordan Love had all the talent in the world, and he was, a functional athlete, but he wasn't like elite. And I think that's what Dante Moore is. Dante Moore is a functional athlete. He's not elite, I think he's going to need to put on some weight. I think he's going to come in a shade under what he's listed at 6'3", 210. I don't think he's going to be more than 6'1.5", 200. So I think he has the chance to be a really, really good quarterback. I also don't know if it was my decision, that this coaching situation and regime would be the perfect fit for him. Like, he needs to sit, right? He needs to sit and learn. He needs to still develop some aspects. And I don't know if we have the infrastructure in terms of the offensive coaches or the opportunity to really get him into a place where he can become, a franchise type quarterback. I think he's got franchise type quarterback talent. But it's just there's parts of his game which are just still very, very raw. And they were very, very raw early in the year. They didn't just become very, very raw against Texas Tech and Indiana. That just still needs some fine tuning. I understand if he comes out, why he's coming out. If it was me, I would have went back to school.
Would you take him at 2?
Like I said, I think that he's worthy. I think he's going to go at 2. I think he's worthy of the number 2 pick. I also don't think it would be the best decision for the Jets to take him at 2, although I think they will. You don't
think there's any shot they trade out at all? Like I would love to see them move out at 2 if Moore comes out.
I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but man, they've went and watched and had so many members of their scouting department and front office involved in seeing Moore that you don't keep going back to watch a guy to be like, all right, well, this time is going to be the time I'm sold on him, or this time I'm going to be the time I'm sold on him. You know what I mean? They probably sold and wanted to get everyone else on board, or I don't know, man. I think that the Jets will take him. I do. I don't know if he's a fit for where we are and where we currently stand. Because I just don't think that the Jets have the infrastructure, like I said, the coaching infrastructure to get him to where he needs to be. And even more so, I have a feeling that they're going to feel the heat to get the number 2 overall pick on the field.
Yep.
And then the last part that we touched on a little bit earlier, you're banking, if you're taking Dante Moore at number 2, you're saying, I believe that this is my franchise quarterback. You're out of the quarterback market for 2027.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying we all know that on paper right now, it looks like 2027 is going to be a much better draft in terms of quarterbacks. But we said that last year to this year, right?
100%.
So you never know what's going to happen. However, I think if you take him at 2, you're out of the quarterback. That's your quarterback.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Greg, the gag, comes in and says, to shift away from the draft for a sec, what are we doing with the running back room? Brees in particular. I am not letting Brees leave. I do anticipate we're going to have, at the very least, a rookie have a quarterback that's going to need help and a coach that needs to win in this league to keep his job. And Brees Hall is our best offensive playmaker alongside Garrett Wilson. I think you have to tag him at the very least. I would give him a 3-year $30 or 3-year $36 million deal, and I wouldn't blink twice about it. But I think Brees is 100% back, and if he's not back, the Jets fucked up. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think you could let him leave for nothing. I think that would be a poor asset management from the New York Jets. And we're doing all this talk about the quarterbacks. I think you want a player like Brees Hall for a young quarterback. He's a good rusher. I think you feel pretty good about the Jets running back room going into next year with the trio that they would have. Plus, on top of that, we know what he could do catching passes out of the backfield. I think that's valuable for a young player. So I would definitely be in on bringing Brees Hall back. I like the contract that you tossed out there, but at the very least, I think you got to either transition or franchise tag him.
Want to jump down to Carlos. Carlos drops a 10 spot, says, Dante Moore fits the modern NFL quarterback mold with quick mechanics, high IQ, poise, and smart mobility. With the Jets' defense, weapons, and veteran leadership, he could develop patiently and properly. Now, what's your quarterback room going to look like, though? That's the thing for me. Like, if you're bringing in Dante Moore, you got to bring in a vet that could at least, at that point, if your plan is quarterback at 2, going into it, your top 2 guy, Moore's coming out, Mendoza's going to be there, go out, get a veteran quarterback and get a bridge quarterback that you can win with. I kind of want 3 quarterbacks in this room. If you can get me someone like a Josh McCown to just sit there, or how Jameis Winston was to Jackson Dart, where Russ is starting, Jameis is kind of there to be the soundboard and talk to Dart and kind of coach him on the sideline. That's what I want. I want that. I want the quarterback coach. I want an offensive coordinator, in his ear all the time. as much infrastructure in place as you could possibly have. Dom, I guess
I don't know about the defense. I don't know about the defense, weapons, or veteran leadership.
We don't got
my whole problem with this. I'm all for what Carlos says in terms of his description of Moore and his talents and the player. But it's the rest of the stuff that I don't know if they're going to be able. Defense?
I feel like
I'm not sure he has lots of weapons.
Like weapons,
are they?
I think we're going to bring Brees back. Like this is all hinging on that. Brees comes back. Okay. You got Garrett. I like where Mason is trending. I like Ruckert in the role he's currently in. I think all of us anticipate we're going to spend a pretty high pick on a wide receiver. So I think that will be ironed out. You got Mechie and Mitchell as wide receiver 3 and 4. Like, I think weapon-wise, we are in a decent spot. Veteran leadership, I don't see it here at all. Like, there's no... Like, who's our most veteran player? Would it fall on Garrett and Jermaine as probably the offensive and defensive guys?
Well, I mean, if you just look at how the room went last year, like, it feels like the newer guys over the past couple of years, right? In Simpson and Harrison Phillips came in and seemed to be like those veteran stabilizing factors in the room. And even before that, I mean, you had Aaron Rodgers. I mean, so there doesn't get any more veteran stabilizing than him. And then he come in, Devontae comes in, and he's got to, hold the players only meeting, a week into his tenure here. So I don't know if there's a veteran presence in this room. I think you need to establish one. I think you need to develop that. And maybe that's, maybe that's Garrett over time. I don't know. Maybe it's, some of the linemen that, you hope to keep. I would love to see. First off, let me say this. I'm with you 100%, Ryan, in terms of the weapons look a lot better if you bring in Brees back. If you didn't trade Brees at the deadline, I got to imagine there's some plan at absolute worst to at least tag him. But I don't know if I'm very comfortable with the room. And I don't know if, I do know that this is not the year you want to depend on the draft to bring in or fill your running back room. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went to the well for another veteran back. They seem to like Isaiah Davis, and I think Isaiah Davis plays a nice role. Third down back, I think he hits the inside, like those inside zones and stuff that they like to run, those little draws and stuff. I think he's more, even though he's smaller, he's more physical of a guy to handle inside the tackle stuff. And I'd let Brees run the outside. I'm not expecting or suspecting that Braylon Allen is going to be any part of the offense until you figure out what's going on with that knee.
So you just assume you kind of might need to add a body there anyway.
Yeah, I think you're gonna add a body, and that's one room where I think you'll get better bang for your buck in free agency than you will the draft.
I want to talk about Navy Hamster. Jump down here, then I'll go back up to Dan Carson and Rafi. I see your super chat sitting there. Cameron says, Moore has arm strength, quick release, and simple reads, and a lot of open receivers due to the scheme and a ton of shotgun. I worry about him transferring to the pro offense. Dom, any concern about the offense that he played in? Could that possibly not be a helpful factor in the evaluation process?
No, you know what? I think it's fair, like a fair assessment in terms of, whatever. But we've already seen Bo Nix be able to do it. We've seen Dillon Gabriel translate okay, even though I don't think Dillon Gabriel's just that talented. So I'm not worried about that. The shotgun stuff. Listen, fun fact: Trinidad Chambliss has never taken a collegiate snap under center. If it was, actually, I shouldn't say that because I'm sure in Ferris State, I don't watch every Ferris State play, but I'm sure he had like a 4th and 1 or something like that where he took a snap and rushed it like that. But he's taken 100% of his snaps from the shotgun. Fernando Mendoza this year took 100% of snaps from the shotgun. That's just part of the game now. You know what I mean? It's especially since collegiate schemes are so RPO based, because they're easier on the quarterback. You have one key, you have usually 1 or 2 or half field reads. So it makes it a lot easier. So I'm not worried about the shotgun necessarily. And like I said, I think Moore's arm talent is enough to get him to a point where he can get comfortable taking snaps under center and dropping back to 5 and 7 step dropbacks, which aren't even the norm in the NFL anymore.
Matt, I haven't thought to do our likes every 10. Any chance you've been ripping some winners?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
We have winners lined up.
All right. I'm going to try and hammer out some of these super chats while you do that. If you want to take a look at our timestamps from last week, see if we got anything sitting
I'll add
there.
those in too.
Dan comes in, says, seeing Chicago win a home playoff game, what do you think the atmosphere at MetLife would be like if we hosted? I mean, we haven't hosted a playoff game since 2002. It would be absolutely electric.
2002?
I think so,
Holy
right?
shit.
Is that right? That's the last time we won the division.
It is. And I don't really remember 2002. My first year where I feel like I remember what was going on Jets-wise was 03. So I've been watching this team for a long time and haven't seen a home playoff game. That's nuts.
2002 might be the most exciting game I ever went to. And it wasn't the playoff game. It was the game prior to that where the Jets needed the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. They win in overtime, and the Jets came in and just beat the ever-loving piss out of the Packers to win the division. And it was so fun, and the stadium was absolutely rocking. And then we go in and we kick the shit out of the Colts the following week. I think it was like 40-0 or something like that. Just an absolute thrashing. Jet fans would go nuts. They're going back to 2009, 2010, the buzz around New York City when the Jets were getting into the playoffs and then getting into the championship game, like next to the Knicks, I don't think there's a team in New York that could have as much hype and as much fun buzz around the city as the Jets actually being good. Like there's just a different type of energy.
The Knicks sometimes you feel it. Like when they were pushing in their playoff run, you felt it. But yeah, if the Jets ever get to that point, they will get a buzz like that for sure.
Rafi says, I think we trade out of 2, have a crappy year. Glenn gets fired. Moody drafts his quarterback of the future next year. The roster isn't ready for a rookie quarterback. So I don't mind kind of seeing how Muji performs. Like in my mind, I can separate Muji from Glenn. I think a lot of people can't do that. We've had this discussion, I think maybe a week or two ago, where you guys both kind of thought they might be tied at the hip. I can see Glenn underperforming on the field, but I can see the moves made by Muji like somewhat being successful. I like the trades and that sort of stuff. So maybe we see that happening. We trade out of 2. It's going to be real hard. I think, look, even if you draft a rookie quarterback at 2, like, does anyone see a world where we get 6 wins or 7 wins at the end of the season? Like, unless this rookie looks absolutely lights out, like, I feel like they're going to move on from Glenn. Like, I just don't see a situation where a rookie quarterback saves Glenn's job. Am I, like, overthinking this, Matt? Or, like I feel like we're going to have to rely on the veteran to get the wins and to be successful and then hope the rookie pans out behind him.
Probably. I think you're asking a lot for the rookie, whoever it is, to come in and play at that level. I do think, and we talked about it earlier, in this scenario, I think the sell would be, hey, we're trading out of 2. We're going to get, whatever for it, continue to build out the roster. We feel good about insert veteran quarterback here, that we're going to take a big step forward and be more competitive, and then we'll be ready to take our guy in 2027. Now, does that actually pan out and work out that way? To be determined. Obviously, I think that's asking a lot too, but I think that would be the play under this scenario that Rafi puts out there.
Dom, you think Glenn can save his job with a rookie quarterback, or you think there's a situation like, I guess, how does Glenn keep his job for next year?
I mean, win ball games.
And how do you do that? Like, I feel like it's got to be a good vet. I feel like it's just, I don't know. I would be very surprised
I don't know.
If a rookie saves your job.
I mean, if you just see what's the landscape of the NFL, rookie quarterbacks aren't saving coaches who don't have a clue. They're not saving their jobs.
Yeah,
or
Ward's coach,
bad
gone.
coaches.
Caleb Williams' coach, gone. Bryce Young's coach, gone. Like we did
Jackson
with
Dart's
Sam.
coach gone.
Yep,
You know,
Dart
and
gone.
we thought and Dable we thought was a really, a good X's and O's guy. It doesn't seem like he was a good leader. So that doesn't that young quarterbacks might not buy you more time like it would have in the past, or like maybe Zach bought Robert Saleh an extra year or something like that. I don't know. I don't think it really buys time. I think he's got to figure it out. I'm sure that there was I'm sure that there was a plan sold, a bill of goods sold to Woody Johnson when they decided to trade Quinnen and Sauce. That said, this is the plan. This we're going to do. And if they fall short of that plan, whatever their plan is, and if there's any truth to the idea that Woody was not coming to games and really pissed off, like I don't see how anything past like a 9-win season, a 8-win season wins him, a year 3.
Jets Worldwide comes in, says, is Byron Leftwich a viable quarterback coach for the Jets? If not, who's your pick? I think he's certainly a viable quarterback coach for the Jets. I don't know if there's any like correlation to what our coaching staff is, if he would be like an option for us. He most recently the assistant coach at Colorado, but was offensive coordinator for the Bucs 2019, 2022, was interim offensive coordinator for the Cardinals in 2018. Either one of you guys have a thought as far as we still have London as our quarterback coach, but any offensive mind that you'd like to see brought in to assist in the quarterback development, Matt?
I don't really know if there's like an obvious name that's jumping out. I don't think Byron Leftwich is a terrible option. Who's been an offensive coordinator in this league and has had success. I know it was under Bruce Arians, and obviously Arians ran a lot of that, but he still, I thought, did a pretty good job. I don't know. Dom, do you have anybody that's like off the top of your head that's jumping to you?
Not for a quarterback coach. No. I'm just honest. I don't. But if you look back over the past couple years, some of these names that are now becoming OCs and are now becoming, these next wave of future offensive minds, right? David Blau just became he was the assistant quarterbacks coach in Washington. Now he's their OC. Davis Webb in Denver, as Sean Payton has said, the guy's brilliant and he's, going to be, the next big thing. There's, JT Barrett, right? Came from Detroit. They're very highly touted, but he followed Ben Johnson and is the quarterback coach over there. Probably soon to be offensive coordinator. So I guess the plan is to find one of these, guys who really can't hack it as a quarterback anymore and kind of groom them and use their minds to become a quarterback. Grant Udesky, the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville, is another one. He was a quarterback coach under Sean McVay. And now he's, calling plays for Liam Cohen. And they said that at 30 years old, he's already getting head coach buzz. So yeah, I think the idea is to go away from the Charles Londons and go towards these young kids, go find them.
I got Red John in here. Says, we need players with some fire like Bart Scott and 𝐿𝐵𝐿 type. This team right now is bland. Yeah, we need some strong personalities. We need someone with a little bit of fire. I think the best way to do that is to have a lot of young picks and a lot of young players infused into here. I feel like the last time we had a swagger was when you had Sauce and Garrett and Jermaine and Brees, like all on young deals. And now we got the Aaron Rodgers hype. And like that hype was real. And there was a legit like enthusiasm around the Jets. And you can get that back with these next 2 years of draft picks. And hopefully you can hold on to Brees and hopefully you can hold on to like some of your other talent to just add to it. But I agree, Red John. We need that little bit of swagger. All right, our poll question. We've got over 560 votes on this poll question. If Dante Moore declares for the draft, with 51% of the vote, people are saying trade out of number 2. 36% of the vote says draft Dante Moore. 12% of the vote, best player available or another quarterback. I guess I want to get your thoughts, guys, before we go over to the spin wheel. Matt, if Dante Moore declares, what would you do?
Today is probably trade back. Dante Moore worries me a little bit because, as we've been saying a lot tonight, I think he needs to sit. He's too young. And my fear would be that this regime trying to save their job puts him in too early, and it's just kind of fucked from the beginning. Who knows? I mean, there's clearly a lot of talent there, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's a good quarterback. I just think he's a risky pick, and it scares me. So I'm trading back.
Yep, I'm with you. I want the trade back option. I don't want this regime to force him in, and I'm scared shitless having him out here. I think I'm also shell-shocked from like the offer that the 49ers gave us to come up and get Zach, and we didn't take it. So like I'm hoping some offer pops up and we rectify that, and hopefully, you know, we don't trade out of a Hall of Fame quarterback or whatever. Dom, your thoughts. What would your pick be at number 2 if Dante declares?
I probably would take the quarterback. I probably would take him. You know, I say that begrudgingly because, you know, on the same token, like I know taking him takes me out of quarterback next year, and that scares me a little bit. But I like the idea. I don't know if, you know, I have zero confidence, not even 1%. I have 0% confidence in this coaching staff in anything, especially developing a young quarterback. But that doesn't concern me. It's actually, to me, one of the more well-rounded reasons why I think I might take him, or one of the more reasons why I lean towards taking him, because I think a 21-year-old Dante Moore is going to be enticing to the next head coach of the New York Jets, along with Garrett Wilson, a great offensive line, you know, 3 other picks taken in 2026 that were, you know, top 50 picks, and then 3 first-rounders next year. I think that's enticing to an offensive mind, and I think if Woody's, you know, I think it's probably Woody's going to do the exact opposite of what he's been doing if he's getting the same results. So I expect a veteran offensive-minded coach to be the next head coach. So you're telling me, and I'll just use this name off the top of my head, like Shane Steichen gets canned in Indianapolis because they can't figure it out. You know, you don't think he'd want to come in here with a guy like Dante Moore and 3 first-round picks and all the cap space in the world? Like, I think it's a very enticing proposition. So for that reason, if nothing more, I'd probably take Dante Moore.
It's going to be interesting either way. Boys and girls, we have come to our spin wheel. Matt, how many contestants do we have tonight?
So, including the timestamps from last week, 43.
43. I like that. All right, chat. We're going to go 8 numbers. Give me 8 numbers. The 8th number, give me a number 1 through 43. The 8th number that pops up will be our winner tonight. Okay, green doesn't count. You did twice. But you got 1 in there. All right, you got a different number. We'll throw that in there. 23. Gangrene. What's the
no, Sam Aiken.
Sam Aiken. Sam Aiken is our winner for tonight. Let's see what Sam wins. Come on, Sam.
Looks like a hat.
I can't tell if that's a hat or a pillow. Sam, you win a hat or a pillow. We'll let you decide. It's right on that. That's I really can't tell.
Looks like a hat to me.
It could be a hat.
I'm going hat.
It could be a hat. We'll grant you a pillow if you want to cry into something. But Sam Aiken, reach out, jetstalk247 at gmail.com or talkinjetshow@gmail.com. You can find the link in the description down below. Get us your information, your shipping info, and we'll send that out to you. Thank you so much for playing, boys and girls. Dom, thank you for hopping in. Anything you want to say?
Sorry. Thanks for having me, man. Just like I said, I was listening, I was watching. I said, you know what? Let me just say hello. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, no, getting ready for Senior Bowl, man. I got, just finalizing some of making sure I getting some eyes and some film on some guys that that were named, accepted Senior Bowl bids and I haven't watched yet. They put out more bids this year than ever before. They have 130 guys.
Wow.
130 guys that got invites this year accepted. So they're going to have very, very big rosters. There's a lot of guys that I haven't, listen, there's small school kids and stuff like that. I don't watch everybody. So I'm just doing that, man. Got a couple good articles coming out for Jet X Factor. And, my podcast is slowly and surely, spitting out content at Project Prospect with Dom C. The Draft Dodgers is the podcast. If you guys want to check it out on YouTube and give it a like and a follow, I'd appreciate that. And if you don't, that's okay too. You can always hear the same shit I spiel on Monday with Ryan or wherever. So
I love it. Lou comes in lastly and says, Dom, thoughts on Wright, tight end, Ole Miss. He says he loves him.
One of the guys, Daquan Wright, is I think one of the guys that's going to be a quick riser over the next couple weeks. I think he's a guy that's going to test extremely well. I think he's a guy that's going to run out of the gym at 6'4", 255 pounds. I know that Connor Rodgers has, for those of you who watch or listen to the NFL Stock Exchange, he's a guy that Connor Rodgers is hyping up a lot as well. A very good, very talented kid. Little bit one note for me, which is fine because I think that's the kind of tight end that I'm looking to bring into this room here for the Jets. He's more of your big slot kind of receiving tight end. What we thought Stone Smart was going to be before Stone Smart just turned into like a punt return. A guy that played on punt team. So yeah, a more of a vertical seam complement to what you have in your inline tight end in Mason Taylor. More of a yak guy, more of a A-dot guy. He's not gonna his catches will be way past the line of scrimmage. I think he'll do more with the ball in his hand, a little bit more athletic than a guy like Mason Taylor. I think he'd be a great compliment.
Matt, any last words for us?
Yeah, I'll be on with Jeremy tomorrow at 3:00, so come hang out for that. And a new episode of Just Jets drops tomorrow morning, so be on the lookout.
Hell yeah. Love it, boys and girls. It's going to be a lot of fun watching the playoff games, watching the college football playoff and all that, and seeing when this Dante Moore decision finally comes down the pipeline. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below on your thoughts, where you think the Jets should go, what happens at number 2 with or without Dante Moore. Would love to hear your thoughts and see your comments. Guys, we'll be back here same time next week, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, talking Jets. JETS.
Just go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the pouch. Screw green bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and family.
Hit those milk duns, boys and girls.
Freeze run.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.